flooring. For this job it's worth buying a floor fitting kit. It consists of one hammering block, one pull bar, one spatula and 20 spacers, and this just helps you get around the laminate floor and knock it into place with a mallet without damaging the flooring. In this example we're using a natural fiberboard underlay. Always check with your flooring shop which underlay is the most suitable according to what floor you've got. We're putting the laminate flooring onto a modern screeded floor which has already been insulated underneath. If fitting laminate flooring into like an old Victorian house with raised flooring and drafty floors, you may need a more robust underlay. When laying laminate floor, you want to leave about a 5mm expansion gap all the way around the edge of your laminate floor between the edge cut and the wall. By putting your skirting board on after you've laid the floor, you can put that over the top and it covers up any gaps. Now if your skirting board's down and you can't remove it, you can put the laminate floor down, but you need to use some edging bead between the skirting board and the laminate floor, and this will cover the small gap. It's important you leave a small expansion gap because when you walk on the floor and it expands and contracts slightly, it needs a small amount of room to move, or otherwise you'll find the floor will start to bow over time. Before you lay the laminate floor in, make sure you've given the floor a good sweep and give it a good hoover so there are no lumps or bumps under the floor that you're laying. You want it perfectly smooth. In an old house with slightly uneven wooden floors, it's a good idea to have a slightly thicker underlay which will help just even out any slight bumps or variations in the floor level. You need to lay your underlay fiberboards with the longest edge facing at 90 degrees to the length of your laminate. So if your laminate's going that way, this board needs to go around this way. It's important to leave a 5mm expansion gap around the edge of your underlay. And when laying these underlay boards, you need to do them in a brick fashion. So the next one will go by here like that, and then we need to cut smaller pieces to fit in the edge. And the reason for this is so that we don't have in any one place one continuous join all the way. Just tape up the joints like you can see here. This just holds all the boards together. When you're laying from the back outwards, you need this ridge facing you, and that way you can put the next piece of laminate up and slot it in. So with this particular flooring, we tilt the length of laminate wood like that. We push it as tight to this piece as possible. Push down, make sure it's firm, and give it a good hit like that, and it'll slot into place. When you're cutting your wood, just use your measuring tape. And always remember to measure from the side where you need to keep your little groove. Your cut's always going to be flat and needs to go against the wall. Once you've made your measurement, just mark a little dot and use a square edge to draw your line, or measure 2 dots, one top and bottom, and just use something straight to draw a line from one end to the other. Then we'll go and cut this on the chop saw. In order to lay your floor, lay this edge over that edge and clip into place. In order to maintain your 5mm gap around the edge of the flooring, you need to pack a few wedges at even spaces around the back to maintain the gap, because this is very easy to shift around the floor like that at the moment. As part of our flooring kit we got these wedges, and you can wedge those down the back of the laminate flooring to make sure you keep your 5mm spacings. By moving these wedges either that way or that way, you can make your spacing thicker or thinner. This is ideal for bits where your wall's uneven, just to fill out slightly larger or smaller gaps as you go along. See here now where we made a start. Right here you start with a full one, you go on then to a third, then 2/3 and back to a full one. And what this does is it staggers all the joints like that, so it gives you a nice original looking floor. If you look here, in part of your flooring kit you get this little tool, and you can see on the side it's got this stepped edge there. And what you do with this, you just sit it over the edge of your laminate flooring, and that allows you to sit over the little tongue and groove bit and the top, like that, and you're able just to give a gentle tap that way, and you can do the same this way along your laminate, not too hard, just a gentle tap to make sure that they're all pushed firmly together. And do this just 2 or 3 times on each piece of laminate as you go along. Then afterwards with your rubber mallet, just gently tap the joints like that, and where you have these joints, again over the corners, give a nice firm tap with your rubber mallet to ensure that all these joints are tightly pulled together. If we've got any intricate cuts like this, we can use a piece of cardboard. Drawing and cutting on the cardboard, you can make yourself a nice template. By measuring the distance between the wall and your other piece of laminate, and you do the same again by there. You apply these measurements to your piece of laminate, ensuring that your groove there is on that side that overlaps there. We can now, using the template we just made, apply a nice line between that point and that point, which should mimic exactly that stone wall. And now, using a jigsaw, we can go outside and cut this to shape. So if we take the piece we just cut, that fits perfectly now into there. So measure twice, cut once. Usually on your edges you can buy edging strip, or as I said before, you can cover it with skirting board. Where you've got odd uneven edges like this, the best thing to do is do your cuts around the stone and then add a similar coloured sealant just in the gap and just smooth it off flush with your finger later on when you've finished your flooring. For small bits like this, just line your laminate up, draw a little line, and you can cut that with either your jigsaw or with your little hand saw. Right, we're back the next day. We didn't have a chance to finish off yesterday, and you can see all the underlay is now down, so we can continue with the flooring, and we got our little helper, Coco, to speed things along. A quick tip when you cut the laminate on the floor. When you need to do a cut on your left hand side of the wall, you need your cut flat edge against the wall, and then that leaves you your little ridge by there to connect in your next piece of laminate on the right. You do this by taking your piece of laminate, and you need to measure from the right hand end backwards this way and cut, and that way you get the right length piece of wood with your piece on the edge and your cut edge. Now, as what this does is leaves you with another piece by here. Now, as what you want to do is keep this as your spares and your offcuts for the other side of the room, because that leaves you, if you turn over, with the reverse type groove. So this piece can then be used over that end of the room. You can then use this piece and just cut this down to size. The way to keep this simple is by stacking the ones for this side on that side of the room, and keep the offcuts for this side of the room stacked against that wall. That way you can quickly look at your offcuts and work out which one to use to fill the gap at the end of your run. And we've been starting off with a third, then 2/3, then a whole length. This one is effectively the third. Is what we've had to do is add this extra bit. So we're adding a third of a length of laminate with the length of that, join them together, and that's the length of this first piece of wood. So this second one will be 2/3 of the length of laminate plus the distance from there to there. And it's what that does is maintains the pattern, keeping these lines all in line with each other whilst keeping the length of wood into the wall. Again, always measuring from that side this way so that your cut is against the wall. Just take your square edge, draw a line. We're going to cut that on the chop saw. This chop saw is a fairly low budget one. It's the Evolution Stealth. I bought this from Screwfix. It was £100. You can get better quality ones which are a little bit more accurate, but this one does a perfect job for this kind of thing. This saw has got the slide mechanism, which gives you that extra bit of depth for cutting things this width. Obviously, always make sure if you're buying a tool like this that it extends to the width of what you're cutting. Remember, like I said earlier, your offcut here can go on the right hand side of the room, so that's your cut edge, and there's your groove to clip in. Your laminate flooring under architrave like this. The neatest way to do it is to just cut the base of your architrave off, and you can just do this with a standard hand saw on its side. Or you could use an electric multi-tool with a cutter that just cuts in that way underneath. You can see on this one where we haven't put the flooring in yet, just cut that out and use a chisel just to prise it out, and then you've got enough space there to just slide your laminate underneath and you get a nice neat finish. Again, when you do little intricate cuts like this, it's just a case of trial and error. Give yourself a template, draw around, cut it with a jigsaw, come back in, see if it fits, take a bit more off, and just use your pencil to run around and take any little bits off. By there, we've left that there because we've got some natural stone on show. Eventually, in the gaps like that, we'll just use a bit of matching coloured sealant to the floor and just put that in the tiny little gaps, which will still allow a bit of expansion and just give a matching colour to any gaps that look slightly too large. Obviously by here we'll have skirting board going over the top so you won't see all this, but we still maintain our 5mm expansion gap around the edge. Here we've actually just used a piece of oak for our threshold. You can use pre-made matching laminate thresholds which clip over your laminate and you screw them into the floor. But we've just done that and we've just left again a very small expansion gap there. I'll still allow movement of the laminate floor if required. Make sure you keep moving over your underlay as you go along, ensuring there's no lumps that are going to be under your floor and make your floor uneven. And if you look here, we've just got the last slither left to do, and you just need to get your measuring tape. As you gap there, and don't forget you need to leave your expansion gap, and this will be covered by skirting board anyway, along here, so you don't need to go tight to the wall. Apply that to your piece of wood. I'm using a straight edge, I'm using a piece of laminate, marking across it like that. I'm going to cut this on a table saw so I can just guide it straight through the blade and do a nice straight cut. And then we can do this for these nice long pieces of laminate here as well. For the purpose of the video, I've taken the safety guard off so you can see what's happening, but always leave the safety guard on your blade. And here's your cut piece. So you just take the piece we just cut, slot it over the groove and into place just like that. So you can see there's the piece I just cut. We just need to do exactly the same now for the longer pieces as we go along there. Right, we're going to pass a piece of laminate through the table saw now, and I'm going to show you halfway through. I'll pick up another piece of wood and use that as a guide to push the wood safely past the blade. Never put your hands anywhere near the blade, and always wear your safety goggles. I've just cut this length out on the table saw, and I've just notched a little piece in line with this small little cable there. Place this into the groove. Don't forget to use your bar from your flooring kit. Hook it behind the expansion gap and just tap with your mallet and ensure that this piece of wood locks firmly into these pieces of laminate. And just give it a good tap with the rubber mallet. Okay, so that's the last piece finished. Enjoyed this video. For more DIY, how-to, household tips and product review, please watch my other videos. Don't forget to subscribe to House Around the House. Ta-ta, farewell.